For doing this.
Today's scripture reading comes from the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verses 12 through 21. Naomi said, "Turn back, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. Even if I thought there was hope for me, even if I should have a husband tonight and bear sons, would you wait until they are grown? Would you refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, it has been far more bitter for me than for you, because the hand of the Lord has turned against me." Then they wept aloud again. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. So she said, "See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." But Ruth said, "Do not press against me to leave you, or to turn back from following you. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die. There I will be buried. May the Lord do thus and so to me, and more as well, if even death parts me from you." When Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more to her. So the two of them went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they came to Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them. The women said, "Is this Naomi?" And she said, "Call me no longer Naomi. Call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt bitterly with me. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has dealt harshly with me, when the Almighty has brought calamity upon me?" This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Over spring break, I went to New York City. And on a beautiful day, I was walking through Central Park and decided to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I wasn't planning on going in, but as I got up front, I couldn't help it. So I bought a ticket and just walked straight into the first exhibit I could find, which turned out to be ancient Egypt. So I walked upstairs and down hallways and trying to make impressed-looking faces, and walking around and realized the museum is a lot bigger than I thought it was. So I finally found a map and made my way to my very favorite art, the Impressionists. I had these paintings on magnets and bad posters in my living room my whole life. And walking through room after room of Van Gogh and Monet and Cézanne, I had a goofy grin on my face the whole time. And one of my favorite things to do was to get up really, really close to one of the paintings, to see the blobs of paint and colors that I didn't know were there, and then to slowly step back and realize that I'm looking at water lilies again. I thought that I knew the book of Ruth, like Monet's water lilies. I thought I knew all about it. And yet when I stepped closer to the text, I realized this is not just Ruth's story. This is not just her Cinderella story, her happily ever after with a kinsman redeemer. This is Naomi's story. Naomi who has lost everything. She has moved far from home to Moab. She has lost her husband and her 2 sons, and she's left with nothing. She has no power, no stability or income, and so she does the only thing she knows how to do. She goes to the last place she calls home. She's lost everything, yet it's no surprise that she changes her name from meaning pleasant to Mara, which means bitter. She's a bit like Job in this moment. She sees Yahweh as her adversary, because as the cause of her anguish and devastation. She believes she has lost the Lord's love, God's hesed. This Hebrew word is really important to understand because it's the bedrock of Israel's relationship with God. It's saturated throughout Scripture. Hesed is this faithful, selfless, costly love that causes someone to do for someone else what no one has the right to ask or imagine. It's the kind of love that God has for Abraham, for Joseph in prison, for the Israelites in the wilderness, the kind of love that Ruth has for her mother-in-law. But Naomi cannot feel this love. All she feels is God's seeming absence. Throughout this Easter weekend, I was struck that Naomi's story is a death and resurrection story. book. What happens to Naomi? Is she still going by Mara? Is her life still bitter? Does she believe she is still far from God's love? After all that she has been through, can she feel God's steadfast devotion? And we find that the Lord does make the once barren Ruth have a child. And it's not just the village who does not respond just with joy for Ruth, but for Naomi. The women say, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a next of kin. May his name be renowned in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher in your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has borne him." So Naomi takes this tiny baby boy, the grandson she never imagined she would have, and lays him in her bosom. And the neighborhood women are the ones who give this little boy his name. They say, "A son has been born to Naomi, and he shall be named Obed." We don't get to hear Naomi's voice, though. We don't know if hers really is a Job story. We don't know if these neighborhood women speak what's on her heart. I imagined as she held this baby boy in her hands that her heart was filled with joy. But I also imagined that it was filled with sorrow. For this grandson cannot replace the sons that she lost, the husband she lost. That grief will follow Naomi to her grave. She will never get over it. The sorrow will always be a part of her joy. This is a resurrection of a bloodline that was once lost. It is beauty out of ashes. And yet, as I take another step back away from this painting, I see this isn't just Ruth's story or Naomi's story. This is God's story. It's the story of death and new life, found over and over again in Scripture and in our own lives. When I was a junior in college, I ran for student body president. I was by far the most qualified candidate. I'd been working in student government, and I had campaigned for weeks. And I'm the kind of person that doesn't even tell anyone if I'm applying for a job because I don't want people to know if I don't get it. But I had no choice. My face was plastered on posters all over our small campus, and everyone knew who I was. And the night of the election, I got the call I was not expecting. Out of over 1,100 votes, I lost by just 24. I was stunned and humiliated, and I could not believe it. I thought this was what God had been preparing me for. I thought this was what God had gifted me for. And several weeks later, I was sitting alone in a pew at church, the first Presbyterian church I'd ever stepped foot in. And I opened the bulletin and found a job opening for a middle school coordinator. I thought to myself, I like middle schoolers and I like coordinating. And 2 months later, I was on staff at this church. And 3 years later, I was a member. And then I became under care and started ordination. And without losing that election, I would not be standing here today. That doesn't take away the pain, though. The pain of the morning after, when I had to walk back into that student government office and see everyone celebrating but me. That day was the death of my pride and my dreams. And yet it was the birth of something new and unexpected. Death and resurrection. This is God's story throughout time. It is the story of God in Naomi's life. Naomi says that God has turned against her and that God has dealt harshly with her. We hear these stinging accusations and we don't hear what God has to say. The text does not answer her questions. Did God cause this agony? and it was not finished on Easter morning. God is transforming the power of death each and every day. Death is not the end of the story, no matter how painful and real it can feel. The death of a loved one, the death of our hopes and our dreams, the death of our pride and expectations. These deaths, big and small, are part of God's story in this world. We are not the focus of this painting. Thanks be to God. We are